And everything just started clicking in my head. Check, 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 check. I'm like, this is so ridiculous. You will never find me saying this in a lecture. And here I am in a lecture saying it. But in any case,
there is nothing that highlights the desperation of Islamic scholars quite so vividly as this clip of Sheikh Yasir Qadhi claiming that the story in the Quran about Ya'juj and Ma'juj, Gog and Magog, is actually talking about a fictional character called a zombie. That's right, the desperation has got so bad that instead of admitting the Quran is a bunch of mixed up fables and tales, they're now saying that it predicts zombies. This clip is so good that many other Muslim scholars had to condemn Yasir Qadhi for saying it. But if you watch the video, you'll see the reason why Yasir Qadhi had to take this step is because, as he said, many Muslims are leaving Islam because this zombie idea, because this Gog and Magog idea makes no sense. So what do? Well, instead of admitting the whole thing is a lie, let's try to sell them some other tale. Let's try to appeal to the Hollywood idea of zombies. Now, you and I both know there's no such thing as zombies. So what is Yasir Qadhi going on about? Did he really think that we would take him seriously after he said such a thing? Is he serious or is he delusional? Let's watch this clip and find out.
It's a problem. Wallahi, it's a problem for any rational mind. What are you going to do with Ya'juj and Ma'juj?
That's right. You didn't mishear me. He said zombies. Muslims love to say the Quran predicts science, but this is a new one. The Quran predicts zombies. What's next? Vampires?
And this is something that I have heard myself, some ulama say, that perhaps Ya'juj and Ma'juj are not on earth but under earth. That's why the satellites haven't discovered them. And this, again, I appreciate the salvaging, I really do. But how can human beings survive? No vegetation, no plants with the sun, no oxygen, food, drink, thousands of years. And according to these traditions, we're talking about gazillions of people. What is the answer to this conundrum of Ya'juj and Ma'juj? I will disappoint you by saying there is no clear-cut answer. But wallahi, to struggle with the truth and to admit the struggle is a safer position than to invent something that is far-fetched and then pretend that it is answering the problems.
So in this clip, Yasir Qadhi admits that there is no solution to this. But to struggle with the truth, as he calls it, is better than making up a solution. He's saying it's okay to be in doubt rather than making up something that's not true. The scholars themselves are acknowledging these problems now loud and clear. Here's Yasir Qadhi again.
And the issue of Ya'juj and Ma'juj is actually, for our modern times, I would say, one of the most, if not the most problematic of the signs of Judgment Day. And it has caused many of our youth to question, to doubt. I myself have met people that have actually left Islam because of these types of tales.
And I also had a big problem with the story of Dhul Qarnayn, this tribe of how Dhul Qarnayn, he trapped this tribe of people, Ya'juj and Ma'juj, Gog and Magog, behind a giant gate built of copper and iron.
And we have to be honest and frank and not pretend as if this doesn't exist. Perhaps some of you are not accustomed to hearing people speak like this, but my philosophy is different. We are dealing with a crisis of people leaving our faith, our own children, our own young men and women. And of the reasons why is that we are not answering some of these issues that they bring, and we dismiss them. And I myself have discussed many of these issues with these types of people, and one of them, not the only one, but one of them is Ya'juj and Ma'juj.
When you watch the following clips, keep in mind the very obvious possibility, the very obvious conclusion that he's not mentioning, that Islamic scholars never mention, that the whole thing is a myth and made up. They'll never admit that. They'll never even admit the possibility. Instead, they will jump through hoops, fanciful hoops, in order to make sense out of a story that doesn't make sense. Occam's razor says, take the possibility with the least assumptions. Look for the most straightforward explanation. That's the most likely one.
To be brutally honest, standard medieval interpretation of Ya'juj and Ma'juj is the following. This is what you find in Ibn Kathir. You find it in the tafsir literature of As-Samarqandi and of Al-Tha'labi, and basically this is the mainstream interpretation for our classical and middle ages of Islam. Ever since the beginning of writing tafsir, let's say 300-400 Hijrah, up until pre-modernity, up until going to CE 1800s or whatnot. If you look at any book of tafsir, any book of history, the notion was the following. Ya'juj and Ma'juj are a bizarre, exotic tribe in the nether regions of the world that have been trapped by Dhul Qarnayn thousands of years ago, and they're still trapped to this day. And quite a few medieval historians have reported that I know of a friend of mine who traveled to the end of the world and he saw with his own eyes the wall of Ya'juj and Ma'juj. We find this in respectable Islamic books. The notion that Ya'juj and Ma'juj are a living tribe, blocked to this day behind the wall that was built 4,000, 5,000 years ago. That wall miraculously is still there. People can see on the one side, and on the other side you have these savages that Allah knows how they're eating, drinking, replicating, whatnot, and they're still there for eons and eons and eons. This is the standard interpretation of our scholars of the tradition, not of the Quran and Sunnah. You understand what I'm going to get at, okay? We don't blame them. In their time frame, the world was unexplored. In their time frame, nobody traveled the world.
So the standard medieval interpretation has problems. Why did Allah misguide all of these scholars? How is it that everybody got it wrong until now? What would you think if there was a book that was from God and everybody that read the book came to the incorrect conclusion for over 1,000 years? What would you think? You'd start to wonder, is this book truly from God? How is it that everybody is missing the obvious conclusion staring them in the faces? I actually don't have anything else to say. I think he's said enough for both of us.
And if you enjoyed this clip, do check out the Abdullah Samir channel for the full video. Enjoy.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. I have a lot more videos coming, and I have some interesting other response videos that you might enjoy watching. Until next time, see you with the zombies.
Ah!